Walks like an animal, talks like an animal, must be an animal. Come hear the animals, talking animals, talking animals. It walks like an animal, talks like an animal, must be an animal. Come hear the animals, talking animals, talking animals.
Good morning, this is Talking Animals on WMNF. I'm Duncan Strauss. My guest today will be Jamie Katz, a Fort Lauderdale-based real-life pet detective. Katz is a lifelong animal lover dating back to her childhood, when her family always lived with dogs and cats, and she adored them all. Years later, after acquiring training and experience as a private investigator, Katz got a glimpse of how her friend's pet detective operated. Katz remembers being unimpressed with the work ethic, but was struck by the detective using tracking dogs, and a new career was born. Jamie Katz, pet detective, capable of employing her own tracking dogs. And her canine partners have helped solve countless cases. We'll discuss some of her more notable cases over the years. And while she tends to get hired most often to locate cats and dogs, sometimes the missing pet is a bird, like an African parrot, or other more exotic animal. She also created a new app for finding lost pets called Rosie, which we'll be discussing as well later. We'll also seek her guidance on the components of creating good, effective signs when your pet goes missing, and ask how she responds to the theory that the best missing pet signs need to offer a reward. There's much to discuss when I speak with Jamie Katz in a moment here on Talking Animals on WMNF. Before we proceed, though, a programming note. In just 1 week, on May 28th, WMNF Summer Fund Drive begins, and I'll be raising money alongside the fabulous Flea on Talking Animals that very day, Wednesday, May 28th. Typically assigned an enormous fundraising goal, especially given that this is just a 1-hour show. I've learned over the years that the only real prospect of reaching that kind of goal is to receive pledges before the fund drive show. So if you like Talking Animals, if you appreciate the work we're doing, we're now in our 22nd year. Our guests have ranged from Jane Goodall to Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, and we're having a pet detective today, no less. Please consider donating before May 28th. How about today? Any amount, $35, $50. You think you can swing more, 100, 200, maybe more, would be greatly appreciated and help us get a head start on our sizable fundraising goal. And we don't really know the White House policy towards PBS and NPR will affect the funding of such stations as WMNF, but your donation could be all the more crucial right now. So just please visit WMNF.org, and in the upper right-hand corner, click on Donate Now. There'll be a secure donation form that opens up. Just please select TLA, Talking Animals, so that our show is credited with your donation. Thank you so much. And speaking of thank you, we have gifts, of course, thank you for pledges at various levels, including one pair of fantastic tickets to see Ringo Starr and his all-star band June 21st at the Bay Care Sound in Clearwater. Ringo is touring by his acclaimed new album, Look Up, his inspired collaboration with T-Bone Burnett, who both co-wrote a lot of the music and produced the album. So if you're interested in pledging for the Ringo tickets, please contact me. Also, I'm offering 2 copies of Slither, the extraordinary book examining snakes from an array of distinctive perspectives. We discussed it with author Stephen S. Hall on the April 30th show. And we have all kinds of additional exclusive thank you gifts, again, for pledges of all kinds. Inquire within. Coming up later on today's program, I'll talk with Susan Tellem, founder of American Tortoise Rescue, a nonprofit organization established in 1990 for the protection of all species of turtles and tortoise. American Tortoise Rescue is gearing up to mark its 25th annual World Turtle Day. The celebration happens this Friday, May 23rd. Do not adjust your set. I did say celebration. More on World Turtle Day when I speak with Susan. Tell them later in today's program. Right now, let's discuss the work of being a real-life pet detective with Jamie Katz. Has been doing that work for many years. With a reminder that I invite you to join the conversation by calling 813-239-9663, emailing DJ at WMNF.org, or texting 813-433-0885. Let's welcome Jamie Katz back to Talking Animals on WM. Good morning, Jamie.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thanks again for joining us again on Talking Animals.
Always.
Yeah, I know you're feeling a little under the weather. I'm sorry you're fighting a head cold. And
Okay.
my voice is a little scratchy at the moment, too, so we're quite a pair. I think.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So we've talked before, of course, on this show, but I think it's important to review some basics for a few reasons, including that being a pet detective, I think it's safe to say, is an unusual occupation. Looking back, though, I don't know if we ever talked about this before. What parts of your background growing up and otherwise might have put you on the path to the work that you do today?
Oh, I just, as a kid growing up, I grew up in Sharon, Massachusetts, and, we didn't have stray animals there. If you saw an animal, it belonged to somebody. So that was always a big thing was, I would just pick up animals if I saw them there because they just, I knew something was wrong. And then, I would bring them back home, and then it would all be a situation, take it back, can't have all these animals here. But then I had moved to Baltimore when I was 14, and they had just animals everywhere. And that was something that I wasn't used to. And so going from a small town in Massachusetts to Baltimore City, and it was just, I had a whole purpose now, and it was to help animals.
So, in those days, what did helping animals look like? What kind of help were you giving them?
So I was working with different rescues, and I had a route that I actually fed every 6 nights a week from 12 at night till probably like 8:30 in the morning. And it was on the west side of Baltimore, and it was a long route. I would have like probably 3 20-pound bags of cat food in my car. I have a pot. And I would have actual places and alleys where, every place I would go to feed. And then I knew the sick, injured, the cats that had babies, which moms were pregnant, where they were, all of that. And so the sick and injured I would trap and give back to the rescue that morning. We would meet it once my route was done, and then they would get help for them. And so I did that for probably a couple of years. Before it got a little bit too dangerous to do that. But
dangerous in what way?
A little bit. Well, I would have. One night I had this guy come up to me and told me he was going to shoot me in the head if I put cat food out.
Oh my God! Well, that sounds dangerous.
Well, technically, he said if you put it there. So my not being the most intelligent person, I was young. I said, well, what can I put it right here? And he goes, get out of here. I was like, okay. So I left. And then one night I actually got pulled over by the police. The police used to pull me over frequently, especially at first because they didn't know, who I was, why I was in this area, and I obviously didn't fit in that area. So they would pull me over, but once they got to know me, they would pull me over to say, hey, Jamie, a prostitute just got killed in this alley. You probably need to go home for the night. So then we started helping each other. There was, one time there was a kitten that had a blown out eyeball. And I needed their help, so I called them, and they came and just parked their car in front of it so I could go trap the kitten and then left. So they helped me out a little bit.
Yeah.
And, it was pretty interesting.
Right, and it sounds like you were always going to gravitate towards something working with animals based on your dedication there and some of the threats that you faced, and you kind of kept persevering. So animals was the thing for you, clearly.
Oh, yeah. For sure. It was putting criminal justice because that was my thing, too. I loved investigations. I loved finding stuff. I just liked that. And then the animals, putting it together, that was the goal of life, is how can I have a career put together of animals investigation,
So hence,
there it is.
Yeah. So talk about the beginning of being a private investigator, because that was really before animals directly fed into the picture, but you finished out that equation eventually, which we'll get to in a moment.
Yeah, so when I moved to Florida in 2011, and I started out with bail bondsmen, and then I had met a PI, and then I said, oh, I don't want to do bail bondsman. I want to do PI work. And so I went to school for it, and I started doing the internship. In the middle of my internship, my neighbor's cat went missing. And I went on Craigslist to see if anybody had found her under, the lost and found pets. And I saw this ad, and it said, we're private investigators. We find lost dogs, cats, and gerbils with tracking dogs. And I just thought to myself, that is so stupid. That is so stupid. And I said, okay, let me call. So I tried calling. There was no phone number I could call. I had to email. But then they called me back in 10 minutes, and pretty much came down to this woman calling me back, the handler, quote unquote. And she said, all right, well, I'm going to load the dogs up, and we'll head out. And so, me and my friend were waiting, for this hero to show up and find Honey and all this. And hours went by, and I called her back. I said, hey, where are you at? Where are you coming? Oh, 95 is shut down. I said, you're in Boca, go around. And she goes, oh, no, we'll be there tomorrow morning. And I'm like, and we're both crying. It's not even my cat. I'm crying. And the next morning she calls 9 a.m., says she's on the way, and she didn't show up again. And then the next day she did the same exact thing, called at 9, said she's on the way. And then our neighbor, Nina, at the time, we were asking her, hey, have you seen, Honey? And she said, no, but there was somebody tried to break into my back porch last night. And I said, what? What do you mean? And she said, there was a fight on my back porch. I said, a cat fight? And she said, I don't know. And I said, oh, gosh. And I harbored up and got my friend. I said, go under her house. Your cat's under the house. And so she crawled under her house. And little do you know it, Honey's back there in the corner being held hostage by a feral cat named Bubba. We did not know who Bubba was until years later. But it had a name. It was Bubba. And it was like the feral bully cat of the neighborhood. And so Bubba was holding Honey hostage, wouldn't let her come out from under the house. It had been 3 days at that point. And so that's what Nina had heard was a cat fight going on, not actual people trying to break in to her back porch. So my friend got a broom, went under there, and had to get the other cat out because the other cat wanted to kill her too. And once she got that cat out, then she crawled back under and got Honey, and then that was that. And I remember the supposable whoever, the canine handler that she was, when I told her, oh, we found Honey, she goes, oh my God, how'd you find her so I know for my next case? And I just laughed, and I thought to myself, you know what? If this is real, if dogs can really find lost pets, then this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and that's how that happened.
So that's where kind of the tracking dogs portion clicked in.
Yeah, it was from Craigslist, a fake Craigslist ad, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about your current tracking dogs then.
So, I still have Fletcher, I have Gable, I've had them for, almost 10 years now. They're, mostly air scent dogs, which means they follow scent in the air, not so much foot by foot. And now I just got a new dog. Her name is Lois. She's also a spaniel. She's an English Springer Spaniel. And it's a funny story how I came about with Lois is I had been watching this guy on Facebook for years in Denmark, Canine Life Denmark, and his name is Jesper. And he works with police dogs around the world. He trains police dogs around the world. And I just thought, I love the way he trained. I love the way the foundations he was using. And he works with spaniels. And I'm like, I love spaniels because Gable's a Brittany, so it was just something I like to watch. And I always said, this guy, he's going to put a foundation on my next dog. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Years went by, and I went to the vet out of, just one day for flea medication or something. And my vet was like, so your dogs are 10 years old. And I was like, you know what? Don't say that. That's like a curse word. Don't say that.
Yeah.
And I said, oh man. I'm like, I gotta start thinking about getting another dog. So I ended up talking to a friend of mine in Texas, and I told her about the guy, and she goes, wait. She goes, that's my friend. I said, shut up. Your friend? You know him in real life? And she goes, yeah. She goes, we meet in different conferences, around the country. I said, that's wild. And I said, so can you introduce me to him on Facebook? And she says, yeah. So she did. And I ended up getting a dog from Denmark, and it went through his police training for 7 months. And now she's been with me for a year.
Wow.
And her name's Lois, and she's awesome. Yeah. And she's foot by foot. So she follows actual scent on the ground rather than, more of what Fletcher and Gable do is air scent. So now it's, it's a whole come around with the process. It's pretty cool,
So how do you, does typically only one dog go out on any given job?
So I've been trying to have different services to offer, but usually I like to have my whole team there, but sometimes people don't have enough people to, have one person with their own vehicle to pick us up to get back to my truck, one person in my truck with my other dog.
Yeah.
So obviously I don't leave my dogs unattended, and then one person always needs to be with me for loose dogs because that's also a thing, and everybody needs to be safe. So if they don't have enough people or, maybe the cost is too much, then I'll break it down and we'll take just one dog based on the situation. It would either be air-centered or foot by foot. So it just depends on the different situation of what dog I would take to do that. So if that answered it.
Yeah, no, I think it does. And what are their work days like as opposed to when they're not working that given day? How do those look different?
So I mean, they play all day long. So I'm in and out. I have the whole goal in life is have a big enough backyard to play with them all day and be able to still get exercise. So we play all day in the back. Fletcher likes frisbee. He likes to play ball. Lois loves to play ball. Gable likes to roll around. Stuff like that. But during the day, it's a lot of callbacks. It's a lot of, following up with cases that I've already worked, searching online for different animals that, I have open cases for. I'm also, I went back to school for GIS, a GIS certificate, which had to do with the whole Rosie app, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
So it's just been busy. It's been busy.
Yeah.
We've been keeping busy.
Yeah. No, I was. Yeah, and back to the tracking dogs just for one more second. What difference does breed seem to make for tracking dogs, at least in your experience thus far?
So I'm not a breed specific in any way. Fletcher, he's just a little terrier mix. Actually, I did a DNA on him. He came back Shih Tzu, Yorkie, and Poodle. I'm like, what? So you know what? Wow. I have no say for any type of breed of a tracking dog. To me, happy, not scared of, not shy of loud noises, thunder, and food motivated. That's really all it is. If you have those three, then you have a dog that wants to work, Yeah. If they don't want to work, they'll tell you. But I don't think it's really as breed specific as, as people make it out to be. It's just a happy dog, not afraid of different things, and food motivated.
Yeah, and it sounds like temperament figures in as much as anything else would.
Oh, yeah. Because if you have a thunderstorm going on or you have big rain or whatever, you can't have a dog hiding in this kennel. It doesn't want to come out to track. So they can't be afraid of that. They have to, be okay with all the different weather.
Well, let me let folks know who might have just been tuning in and just catching the conversation now. This is Talking Animals on WMNF. I'm Duncan Strauss. If you did just tune in, my guest is Jamie Katz, a Fort Lauderdale-based real-life pet detective. She's a licensed private investigator and worked in this specialized field for many years, reuniting lost or stolen pets with their owners, often assisted by her tracking dogs, which we just were touching on. She also created a new app for finding lost pets called Rosie, and we'll, of course, talk about that before too long as well. If you'd like to ask Jamie a question or offer a comment, please call 813-239-9663. Email dj@wmnf.org or text 813-433-0885. And one of our emailers said, your guest sounds like a Carl Hiaasen novel character. So I think you should take that as a compliment. So
what was it?
The emailer said your guest sounds like a character in a Carl Hiaasen novel. So
okay.
And of course, there's there's the inevitable Jim Carrey, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective reference. So
always.
Yep. So how do you approach new cases? Let's say this afternoon you're contacted by someone for the first time who wants to hire you to find their missing pet. In broad strokes, kind of walk me through what happens next.
So I just had a call that just came in not too long ago before I got on here. So a man in Miami, a family just called, and a man, a wife, they have an autistic child. Their Chihuahua went missing, I believe, like the 17th in Miami, and he had a video of somebody picking it up, and he's like, but he seems like he's going to keep it. He wants to keep it. And I said, Facebook me, message me the video. Let me see what this looks like first. And so he sent me the video, and it's literally, you see a Chihuahua on a leash running 100 miles an hour at night into somebody's yard and going to the door, and the guy pulling in with his car, chasing the dog. And it looks like the guy's barefoot or has socks on. So obviously this person isn't like, trying to get a dog to sell. He's really trying to help a dog. Looks like he just jumped in a car to save this dog's life because it was a busy road. And then he gets up to it, he grabs the leash, and then he's just standing in front of the door, and he's on the phone, he's recording, he's talking to somebody or on FaceTime, knocking on the door. And it was 4 minutes of him waiting at this door. So that clearly, to me, is a wonderful person trying to help get this dog back before it got killed on the road.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, look, I'll call you, in a couple hours, and we'll go over how I think I can help. But that was today. So that's just a normal, when I call him back, I'll go through the who, what, when, where, how, but I pretty much already have the whole situation of what happened. It is a Good Samaritan situation. The person just might not know how to find the owner if there's no microchip, if it's not registered, if there's not a tag on the dog, or if the signs aren't big enough and maybe he doesn't live as close to be able to, see a sign, or if it's a flyer, they're too small. Sometimes big roads, you're not going to see a flyer. You might see it, but unless you're looking for that flyer, you're going to see a piece of paper, but you're not going to see what's on it. So that was just what came in today.
Wow. So,
yeah.
So how often do new cases involve stolen pets? Your story there made me think. Yeah. Stolen pets versus lost or missing ones.
So the difference with stolen and missing, so you have a dog, it goes missing from your house. Your dog did walk away, okay? Now, if somebody picks up your dog and then decides to keep it, or isn't going to try to find you to look for it or do their due diligence, So in my head, it's not stolen to begin with. Now you're like a finder's keeper situation, but by law, we do have laws, we have statutes, and you can't keep somebody else's property as if you're walking down the street and there's a car and then you see the keys on the ground. You can't just pick up the keys and drive away. That's stealing, right? So it goes with animals are personal property in the state of Florida, which is my loophole, and I do like that loophole. I do like that a lot of people don't. I like it because that's how I can get the police to help me when I need help, if they actually, do help. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It depends. But that's my loophole with it. So stolen versus picked up versus I'm not giving back versus just ran away. Out of probably 1,000 cases that we're up to, 3% are technically stolen, and that's the technical part I just said. So only 3%. So, but those are only people that call me, and I go over their cases, or my cases. Other than that, we see stuff all over the world. Everybody, thinks their animals are stolen every day, but people don't understand if they've never had a dog, run away or got out of their yard. They don't understand, why is my dog missing? Why is my cat would never leave, my dog would never leave, it would never do that. But, they do. So it's not always a stolen situation, but people do always tend to jump to that first conclusion that, my animal was stolen.
And why, when people do steal animals, why do they do that? Is it strictly to make money in some transaction?
You have different personalities. So you could have, a senior dog that's blind, and you can clearly see that it's not doing well, that gets out, and somebody picks up this dog and says, oh, my God, what a horrible owner that they let the senior dog, this blind dog, out. Oh, my God, it looks so horrible. I'm going to keep this dog for the rest of my life, and I'm going to give it the life it should have had. That's the one personality. And then you have another personality who finds this dog, oh, my God, this dog has been with your family for 1,000,000 years. We have got to find your owner, okay? So those are those personalities when you have, like, an elderly dog or a dog that, that doesn't look like it's being kept up. But you have to remember, when you have older dogs, they might not be kept up as well as a dog that's 10 years younger, because it might hurt them when you try to brush them. It might be harder to take them to the vet because they're blind. it's just there's so many different, aspects or,
elements to the story.
Yeah, exactly. So, but then you have, this French bulldog just ran up, and I'm going to make money off this Frenchie because they're expensive dogs, Or you have the next person that finds that same Frenchie and they just fall in love because they're the sweetest thing in the world, Or maybe you just got into a fight with your boyfriend or girlfriend, and this is the dog you're about to give to them as a gift so that you guys can make up. There are so many different elements, like you said, that it's just once I profile the case, I just have to go off of shy or friendly is really what it goes off of, because the shy dog or cat doesn't usually just let people walk up to it or catch it or, but a friendly dog, friendly cat, they do allow people to go up to them and grab them and all of that. So that's really the difference of the cases is shy and friendly, and that's how I kind of start with the profile of it, of which way I'm going to go.
And you've been working as a pet detective for how long now?
Since 2014.
So 11 years? 11 years, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're obviously experienced and skilled in solving these cases. Do you have any kind of rule of thumb for how long a fairly standard case should take to solve, or are there just too many variables like the kind you were talking about a moment ago?
Yeah, there's just no way for me to be able to know that. Obviously, I'd like them to be closed within a couple weeks. That would be really nice, but a lot of them do last longer. But I don't know. I never know.
Yeah. So because I'm sure the people that come to you are looking for that animal to be reached, because they've already probably been missing for X amount of days before they even contact you, and so they're probably super anxious to get that animal back at that point.
Definitely.
This is Talking Animals on WNF. I'm Duncan Strauss. My guest is Jamie Katz, a Fort Lauderdale-based real-life pet detective. We're discussing some of her cases, and we'll later talk about a new app she created for finding lost pets called Rosie. You're invited to join the conversation by calling 813-239-9663, emailing DJ at WNF.org, or texting 813-433-0885. So let's talk about some other notable cases over the years. I know there was one that just recently that seemed like it had kind of some weird elements or wrinkles, and do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, we'll talk about Susie. So Susie, she's a 1-year-old reddish-brown toy poodle. She weighs 10 pounds. She went missing on, I think it was like March 14th, March 15th, and the owner hired me on day 2. So the next day I was hired, and the story goes like this. The owner was at work in Hollywood, and she brings her dog to work with her, and the dog got out of the front door somehow. Within 5 minutes, she realized that she got out, and she's frantically running around looking for her. She did have an air tag on, but the air tag was not working for whatever reason. And so she's running around looking for her dog, and she sees this guy on the street, on the sidewalk, and just a little bit south of where she works. And she said, "Have you seen a dog?" And he said, "Well, yeah." He said, "But this guy in a gray Lexus just pulled up, and he said that was his dog, and I gave it to him." And she said, "What?" And that was how it started. So, like, literally, I'm talking within 6 seconds of this man picking the dog up on, because we have the whole surveillance video from the parking lot of the whole situation. He finds the dog on the sidewalk, picks the dog up, and then he's just looking around, and you see this car U-turn and then pull right up to him, and then he leans over, and whatever he said to him, because obviously we can't hear it, but what he said was, "Hey, that's my dog." And then he handed it to him, and the guy just took off, and that was it.
And at that point, the other person didn't have any reason to not believe that it was their dog. So it wasn't like anything like dumb or weird that they gave him the dog. They just figured, hey, they've been looking for their dog. They're looking to get their dog. That I have their dog, so let's hand it over.
Exactly. It was so quick. I mean, being the person I am, even I would be like, "Oh, of course," but I probably would have been like, "Oh, well, show me a photo of you and your dog." But nobody, other people don't really think like that, especially as quickly. 6 seconds. That's just too quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, he handed the dog over, and to me, there was no issue. Like, that wasn't, it didn't mean anything. And then, so from there, we got the video footage, but we could not see a license plate. You could not see a license plate. The car, it was a gray Lexus. There was, probably like 350 to 400 of, a few different model variations and year variations from what we can get from the video of within like a 10-mile radius for the same vehicle. Meaning there's 400 cars that look like this and within 10 miles, So the first thing we did when I went over the case with her, and I said, well, we started figuring out, they got more videos of him driving. We probably had 6 videos total of this guy driving south down, in Hollywood on 441, but we just couldn't see the tag. So I started looking up the locations for the scan readers, the license plate readers, because they do actually have license plate readers on some of the lights, on some of the cameras on the lights on the sides of the street. And one of them was right, literally just like a block away and from where this happened. So the first thing that I did was I started doing LPR searches, which is license plate reader searches. Now, I'm not a police officer, so I can't get camera footage from the cameras from the street. I cannot. But what I can get is I can do paid searches where tow trucks, when they drive around, if they scan automatically, they scan every license plate that's in front of them, side of them, or however it is, wherever the cameras are. So whatever license plates have been scanned by tow trucks in the area on the dates where that happened, so I can get all of those scans, and I can go through each image to see if the car matches. Okay? So that's how we started this, I started it with, let's see if we can get a tow truck, and then I did, but I got the car parked at the next block at the light, but the tow truck was in front, so I couldn't see the license plate.
Oh, the tow truck actually blocked the plate?
No, the tow truck was in front of it, and on the other side of the light. In Florida, we only have the tags in the back.
Oh,
so
right.
I couldn't get the tag.
Gotcha.
So, and that was the only tow truck that the car had met with on that day at that time. So, and I got hired on day 2, so that means I only have that day, the day after, and then days prior to see other vehicles, see if he's been in the area before, but it does cost every time, you do the check. So you have to, So that's how we started with it. And so I said, okay, well, then I started looking up more about the where the license plate readers are on the street, and that's when I found out there was one right on the corner where he was at the traffic light. So I said, we got to get the police to help. And then, we were waiting probably like a week and a half for them to get back with the information, and they weren't. So I started calling the sergeant. I said, hey, look, we really need this information because, this person might not keep, this dog. It might sell it because, again, we don't know why he picked it up and why he said that it was his dog in the first place.
Right.
So I think it was like day 11, they called back. The police finally called back and said, nope, the reader showed nothing. And I said, what do you mean it showed nothing? I said, it's right there. I said, there's just no way. I said, can I come there and go through all the footage? And they were like, yeah, no, you're not a police officer. And I said, but I'm really familiar with the case. I could help, They wouldn't let me. I said, okay. So at that moment, I'm not going to lie, I thought it was over. I was like, wow. I was like, we're not going to be able to get this information. And so I said, oh. And then I thought, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to just do more paid searches. I'll pay myself. And I started doing more paid searches because now we're a week and a half later. So I paid myself, and I started doing searches for other days to see if the car had gone back to that area, And when you search, you can only do 2 miles at a time when you do those searches, and only probably like a week, I think, and a week and a half maybe at a time for the days that you can search. So that day, I ended up going through 7,000 images of license plates. 7,000 in like an 8-hour period. And I found 3 cars that looked like the same Lexus. So now from this is an off-location service, which means I'm not on location. Everything I was doing was, off location. So I had the way that I work with my clients is I'm going to give the address, and what you're going to do is you're going to drive by if the car is a match, the rims match. If it looks like a match, you go way up the street, you park, you call 911, and you let the police come and they walk up to the door. That's how I work with my clients on these types of situations. Okay. Sometimes I go. Again, it all depends on the situation and everything. So there was 3 addresses. So she had went to the couple of them the next day, and it wasn't the same car. Excuse me, I just going to take a drink real quick. So it wasn't the car. So on day 13, my client, she pulls up, and she sees the car, and it's the same rim, the same car, and she sees a woman in the driveway, and she sees a man beating up the woman in the driveway, and the woman has her dog in her arms.
Oh,
as he's beating her up. So this is it. So now we're pulling up. That's the car. That's the dog. And she calls me on FaceTime, and I'm like, I'm like, go, park, go up the street, go. I call 911. Let's get them out here, because a guy's beating up a woman. They're going to be here in 2 seconds. You don't even have to worry about them not showing up for a stolen dog. You know? Yeah,
for sure.
So within a couple of minutes, the whole thing is woo, 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 flying up, and the first thing, the dog fell out of her arms. She picked it up, threw it in the car. So now the dog's in the car. They're still fighting. Police get there, and my client is telling them, this is my dog. They stole my dog, and they hear the guy in the background saying, "I bought that dog on 441," which is where he said it was his dog, was on 441.
Yeah.
And so we knew. And then you hear the dog screaming in the car, like screaming. And then my client, runs to the car to try to open it. And, if you touch that, then that's, you can get you can get a burglary charge, all kinds of stuff, So they were like, "Don't touch that car," to the police. And so, she backed up, and it was just took a few minutes, and they figured it out, and, they got their dog back. But
case closed, I guess.
Case closed. Well, on my part, case is closed, but I wish more would have been done.
Right.
The woman wasn't going to press charges for him beating her up, and the cops weren't going to do anything for him stealing the dog, which is wild, but they didn't. But if he was not beating up his girlfriend at that moment, then she would have never seen them outside. They wouldn't have been outside.
Right.
They wouldn't have had the dog in their hands because they were about to leave.
So it was an incredible fluke, but it also, as you were telling the story, it seems like it's a protracted process, a lot of tedious work on your part, and a lot of time goes by. And again, the owners of these pets have to be super patient, just because, again, they probably don't contact you till it's been missing at least a day or two, or maybe several. And then it might take several more, based on what you just recalled now, to go through the process of finding them, looking at images, footage, whatever might be involved for that particular case. So that's a long time if you're, kind of bummed out that you're missing your dog or a cat at that point.
Yeah, and this girl, she was having a rough time, but, it was just one of those, you just got to keep going. I'm begging her, keep going, come on. I'm like, you can't lose hope now. I was like, come on, we got to do this, Even though I might have been losing hope, and you know what? It happens, but I'm not going to push a client or give them false hope. But at the same time, I wasn't done. It wasn't over.
So you were still on the case.
Stay in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still on it.
All right, so
I'm not done until you're done. So that's that. Like, if you quit, I quit. But if you don't, I'm still helping.
Yeah, that's great. It takes obviously a tremendous tenacity to probably solve some of these cases in particular. So let me bring up an email that just came in. I might hold off on my question because I want to be sure we get to Rosie before we run out of time, and we're nearing the end of our time. But one of our emailers said, "What an incredibly impactful guest. Can you ask her if she has had any cases where the dog was found deceased, and what happens then? How does she handle that with her clients, and how does she take it herself personally?"
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I just had that happen. It's rough. It's really rough. I just had a case. I'll try to do it quick so that so we can get to the Rosie app. So give me a heads up when we need to stop talking about it. But so I just had a case.
Yeah, if you just spend maybe a minute or two on just responding to her question, just so we don't run out of time for Rosie.
You got it. So I just had a case in Coral Springs. The dog, ended up, there's a little Bichon that was in a breeding, hoarding situation and had been with the owners for about a year now. And she took off south. We followed scent for almost a couple miles with Lois. And then, as we're tracking, somebody's like, "Oh, no, she was here yesterday at this time, da-da-da." And then, boom, she's already 2.5 miles back north. She went past her house, and then we had the police call, give us a sighting. I saw her run down the middle of the road. I stopped traffic so that she didn't get hit, and then kept going. And then she ended up in Parkland, so we're like at 8 or 9 miles now, this little tiny Bichon. And we started tracking from where she was seen by the police in Parkland at 1:30 in the morning the night before. And as we're tracking, all of a sudden, all of my dogs lost sense. We just completely lost sense at this one area. And once that happened, put the dogs back in the truck. Me and the client, my client started walking around, looking, making sure she wasn't wherever. And then within 5 minutes, the call came in that she had just she was found that morning on the other side of the yard that we were on, literally just east of it, passed away, and she was attacked by a coyote.
Oh, jeez. That's rough.
So, no, we actually ended up being real good friends, and it's very impactful. I mean, obviously for traumatizing for the whole family, but it's traumatizing for me. It's not my animal, but it's very traumatizing, the whole thing, but they have the closure, and the closure is so important because you can't search forever. If something happened and you have to know, you have to know.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. All right. Well, that sounds tough, and it sounds like it happens at least periodically in your work. And so, all right. Well, let's be sure to. We might come back to some other things, but let's talk about the new app. So, tell me about the new app, Rosie.
Yeah.
Why is it called Rosie for starters?
All right. Okay, so first off, I was doing some. I was in a bicycle group for a long time. I'm still friends with everybody and do it, but I was riding bikes, and this guy says to me, I was talking about Rosie. Rosie is a black lab mix that went missing from Jackson's Ice Cream, October 7th, 2023, and in Hollywood, Florida. And she went missing, and it was a case that I had pro bonoed because I couldn't take the case at first because I was actually in the hospital because I had gotten bitten in the face on a case.
Oh, jeez.
By a dog. So I was in a 5-day stay in the hospital. So I couldn't even take the case, and I also couldn't hold the leash because I got bit in the hand too. So that was that. But so once I got out, I just saw this case kept going. It kept going. It was a month into it, and I felt something, and I wanted. It got so big. I wanted it to be set up correctly. I wanted to help. I knew that they had a GoFundMe, so I knew the money was an issue. So I said, let me just pro bono this case and let's get this going the right way. And so we did. And so I started working the case, and it just got to be a really big case. And then I was on the bike ride, and I was talking to this guy about Rosie, and he said, have you ever heard of GIS? And I said, what is that? He said, Geographical Information System. And I go, I don't even know what you mean. He goes, it's about data and mapping. And I said, well, what is it? He said, everything, every city, every county, every state, there's GIS. All the data taken from everything, like something silly as the amount of palm fronds that fell last month. Everything is put into data onto a map, okay? So I said, because I was honestly at that time, now I'm looking for deceased animals because I'm trying to figure out where did she go, because she literally disappeared into thin air. And because the Broward County doesn't pick up deceased animals, they have contracted companies that do it, and they contract them out to other companies. We're never going to find out if an animal was found and passed away because they take them to the dump. And they don't log it. They don't tell anybody about it. We don't get to find out. So I was looking for a deceased pest at that time. And he said, well, you got to check out the GIS. And so I checked it out, and I go, this is amazing. And so I did find a couple animals that, one that I never actually got the answer to through DOT, Department of Transportation, through the highway, but I never could find it. But I just thought it was amazing that there were other ways to find this information. So I was like, well, I'm gonna create an app. So I went back to school, and I started the GIS certificate, and then the Rosie came from this. So I named it Rosie, and the app, it's one map for all lost pets in the world. So no more searching thousands of Facebook pages, Instagram, the internet, Craigslist, nothing. I want one place for every single lost pet to be posted. And this way,
So this is like a central location to look for your missing pet using Rosie. Yeah. So where could people get it? We're just about out of time here. I'm sorry, Jamie. So where could people find this? Can they download it on their phone, or how does it work from here?
It's actually a web app. If they go to my website, Jamie Katz Pet Detective, the top left corner says Rosie. Click on that, and I'm starting this app it's free. So use the code KATZ, KATZ, which is my last name, all in caps.
Right.
And that's so it'll bypass the $10 lost pet fee. KATZ, KATZ. This is going to be big, so we got to get it big. All the animals in the world need to go on this map.
That's great. Wow. Well, that sounds like really inspired, and they're going to solve a lot of problems for a lot of people. That's fantastic. All right, Jamie. Well, I think we have just about reached the end of our time, so we're going to speak with Jamie Katz. And again, the website is Jamie Katz, Katz. As you know, it's petdetective.com. And do you want me to give out the phone number that you use for that as well, for your job? It's 844-411 Katz, Katz, or 5289 if you want to get a hold of her if you've got a missing pet. So, Jamie, thanks so much for joining us on Talking Animals, and good luck with Rosie and all your great work.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks.
See you, Duncan.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot. In a moment, I'll speak with Susan Tellum, founder of American Tortoise Rescue, a nonprofit organization. Coming up on their celebration, as they say, of World Turtle Day. That's this Friday, the 23rd. So we'll find out more about that when we speak to Susan in just one moment. Right now, we're going to step into the Comedy Corner with a horse racing-related piece, singing us for better or worse. We're in Triple Crown season. And this is a portion of a piece called Horse Racing by Nate Fridson in today's Comedy Corner on Talking Animals on WMNF.
So, I worry about some of our older sports. How are they going to stay relevant in the next century? Like horse racing. How is horse racing going to stay relevant? I think the only way is if technology gets so good that eventually we can talk to the horses after the race and do a post-game interview. Because I would watch horse racing if that was part of it. Just after the race, some sideline reporter just we're standing here with Haley's Comet. H-Com, great race. Talk to us about your preparation. And the horse is just first, I just want to give the glory to God. Through him, all things are possible, except having thumbs and driving a car. It's all about preparation. I slept standing up last night. Ate a bag of oats, it put me in a position to be successful. That's what Haley's Comet does. Haley's Comet comes to race. Haley's Comet comes to execute. Haley's Comet comes to refer to himself in third person. That's just Haley's Comet being Haley's Comet. You can't stop Haley's Comet from doing Haley's Comet things. The reporter's fascinating. Talk to us about turn 3. That's where you really took control of the race. Yeah, well, there was a small man on my back, just hitting me with a rod or a whip. Do you know the thing I'm talking about? It's a stick and then a little leather flap. I don't know what the word is for it because I'm a horse. I don't really have a big vocabulary. It's pretty much carrot and all those words I just said, but I gotta be honest, I just want to be away from that guy. That guy hit me a lot. Did you see that? Is there a ref? Is he gonna call anything out there? That dude was all over me. And yet, as fast as I ran, there he was on my back. I don't really get how that works. Again, I'm a horse. I don't have the capacity for reason. Was that a wizard? What was that? I'm glad it's over.
That was Nate Fridson in today's Comedy Corner with a portion of a piece called Horse Racing, taken from his album Best Guy So Far. Now it's time to speak with Susan Tellum, founder of American Tortoise Rescue, gearing up for the celebration of International World Turtle Day happening this Friday, May 23rd. Here's Susan Tellum back on Talking Animals on WNF. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning. Thank
Thanks.
you for having us.
Thanks for joining us again on Talking Animals. So let's do a quick overview of the American Tortoise Rescue before we get into the big celebration.
Yes, American Tortoise Rescue was founded in 1990 by my husband and me because we found out that there weren't many places in the country that had turtle and tortoise rescues. And so we started it back then, and it has grown into an international organization, and we have saved many, many turtles and tortoises and helped a lot of people do the same thing.
That's great. So then this obviously at a certain point feeds into the history of World Turtle Day. What was the initial impetus for that?
Well, it was interesting because we realized when we started it 25 years ago that a lot of people didn't know a lot about turtles and tortoises. And so the best way to get people involved is to make it a happy thing, not a sad thing, even though there is a lot of sadness. And so we started World Turtle Day so that people around the world could join us with different events. We have so many things going on. If you go to worldturtleday.org, there are so many things that you can do to help turtles, but also to have fun. It's meant to be a really wonderful day for everybody.
And I believe the theme for this particular one is Dancing Turtles Rock.
Right.
So it's hard to picture turtles dancing necessarily. I guess they'd be slow dancing perhaps, but are there any particular dances that they seem to favor?
Well, mostly it has to do with sex. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, turtles are very prolific if they're in a group. So, no, it's really because everything about World Turtle Day is to be happy. While there are things that are unhappy about what's happening to turtles, the whole point is to enjoy the day, to learn more about them. Anybody can join at worldturtleday.org, and you will find many, many things to do. There's, coloring. There's things for kids, things for adults, and there are all sorts of things. And we have clothes for World Turtle Day, and it's just supposed to be one of those wonderful days that people can enjoy.
Yeah, well, the emphasis, as you say, is the upbeat and sort of celebratory nature of it. I guess the thing you kind of alluded to is part of the thing that they're up against, which more and more animals that we seem to discuss on this show and elsewhere, is the diminishing or compromised habitats, I guess, that's facing turtles and tortoises, correct?
That is absolutely true. We find that, like the Army came in and did some moving around of turtles and tortoises in a huge amount in California. And you can't do that because when they have habitats, they need to stay where they live. If they get all discombobulated, if you start moving them around and they get, some even die from that because it's so stressful.
Yeah, just being that disoriented, and then they can't find their way back to what's familiar territory, and then bad things happen. Yes,
exactly. So, and but people do see them on the road a lot, and we always remind people if they're crossing the road, send them the way they're going because they know what they want to do and they know the best thing for themselves.
Yeah, it seems like such a simple thing, but it makes a huge difference to the turtle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, Susan. Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to World Turtle Day this Friday, the 23rd. You can go to worldturtleday.org, and, of course, there's all kinds of social media sites that will be celebrating it directly on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, etc. So it sounds like it's going to be a great day. Congratulations on 25 years of World Turtle Day.
Thank you so much, and thank you for everybody who listens and loves turtles.
You bet. Take care. Thanks again.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Coming up on WNF, it's The Conversation. The great show hosted by Mario Nunez and Joaquin Carter. After that, it's The Scoop, WNF's brief news recap. Then we shift back to music programming with Jim Bannon, holding forth from 1 to 3, followed by Nancy C., hosting the Wednesday Traffic Jam from 3 to 6 p.m., at which point our terrific Wednesday night block of Latin music kicks in. Don't forget, next Wednesday, the 28th, I'll be joined by Fabulous Flea raising money on Talking Animals. But for, of course, WMNF, in the first hours of the WNF Summer Fund Drive. So please go to WNF.org and support Talking Animals. Again, select TLA, Talking Animals, in the drop-down menu. We appreciate it. We'll see you next Wednesday. And if you're able to donate beforehand, so much the better. Stay tuned for NPR News headlines and the conversation. More music after that here on WNF Tampa. Thank you so much. Take care.